There comes a time in life when we are meant to step into the fullness of our wisdom, to savor the richness of the years we've lived, and to embrace the freedom that comes with knowing what truly matters. Aging should be a time of peace, joy, and connection. But have you ever felt like something is quietly standing in the way of that happiness? Not time itself, but the small, unnoticed habits that take root without us realizing, shaping our days, our relationships, and ultimately the way we experience life. At first, these habits seem harmless, even comforting. We fall into familiar routines, holding onto the past as if it were more real than the present. We resist change, telling ourselves we've come this far without it. We retreat inward, convinced that others are too busy to notice our absence. And before we know it, life feels smaller. Conversations lose their spark. The world moves forward, but we stand still. The truth is, it's not aging that steals our joy. It's these invisible patterns that, little by little, close the door on it. But here's something powerful to remember. Happiness doesn't belong to the past. It isn't something that fades with time. It's something we cultivate moment by moment through the choices we make every single day. And the best part? It's never too late to choose differently. A few small shifts, simple, intentional changes, can open the door to a life that is fuller, richer, and more connected than ever before. If this message speaks to you, take a moment to like and share. And if you'd like to hear more reflections on life's greatest lessons, join us here at Elderly Wisdom Story, because sometimes a single realization can change everything. There is something profound about looking back. The past holds a kind of warmth, a familiarity that never fades. A song from another decade, the scent of an old book, the way the world used to feel when we were younger. These are not just memories, but pieces of who we are. They remind us of the roads we've traveled, the people we've loved, the laughter that once filled our days. And so we return to them over and over, telling the stories, reliving the moments, carrying the past forward as if by speaking it aloud, we can keep it alive forever. But time has a way of moving forward whether we follow it or not. The stories that once made others lean in with curiosity now bring polite nods and distant smiles. A grandchild shifts in their seat, answering with a distracted, "That's nice, Grandpa." A friend who once listened intently now simply says, "Yes, I remember you telling me." And little by little, something changes. We do not notice it at first, but suddenly, the warmth of nostalgia begins to feel like a wall between us and the present. The world keeps turning, yet we find ourselves standing still. It is not wrong to cherish the past. It is a gift to have lived through so much. But there is a difference between honoring the past and living in it. If we hold on too tightly, we may miss what is happening right in front of us. The joy of today, the laughter that is still within reach, the people who want to share their own stories too. Perhaps the key is not in letting go of the past, but in learning how to weave it into the present. Instead of simply retelling, what if we asked, "Tell me about your dreams. What's something that made you laugh this week? What's the best thing that happened to you today?" Happiness is not something that exists only in memories. It is here, in the life still unfolding, in the moments waiting to be noticed, in the voices that still call our name. The past will always be a part of us, but the present is asking us to take part in it. And when we do, we don't just keep the memories alive, we create new ones that one day we too will look back on with the same fondness. Happiness is not something that exists only in memories. It is here, unfolding in the present, in the voices that still call our name, in the moments waiting to be noticed. The past will always be a part of us, but the present is asking us to take part in it. And when we do, we don't just keep the memories alive, we create new ones that one day we too will look back on with the same fondness. Yet, holding on to the past isn't just about reminiscing. It can become a quiet resistance to what's ahead. The world moves faster than ever, and change can feel unfamiliar, even unwelcome. New technology, new ways of doing things, we tell ourselves, "That's not for me. I've managed just fine." And so, without meaning to, we begin to step back. At first, it feels like a choice, a way of staying true to what we know. But then, small moments begin to slip through our fingers. a conversation we can't quite follow, a task that once felt simple now feels frustrating, a grandchild laughing at something we don't understand. The more we resist, the more distant we become, not because the world has left us behind, but because we've stopped reaching for it. But the bridge between what was and what is still stands. We just have to take a step forward. A letter once took days. Now a message arrives in seconds. A grandchild across the country can now be seen with the touch of a button. The means have changed, but the heart of it remains the same. Connection, family, belonging. Life is a river always moving forward. And just one step, a text, a call, a willingness to learn, can carry us back into the current. Because life isn't about staying where we were. It's about continuing the journey, embracing what's ahead, and allowing ourselves to grow, no matter how many years we've lived. Life is a river always moving forward. And just one step, a text, a call, a willingness to learn, can carry us back into the current. Because life isn't about staying where we were. It's about continuing the journey, embracing what's ahead, and allowing ourselves to grow, no matter how many years we've lived. But growth is not just about the mind. It's not just about staying engaged, learning something new, or adapting to the changes around us. It's also about the body, the vessel that carries us through each day, the foundation upon which all our experiences rest. What happens when that foundation begins to weaken? When the steps that once felt effortless become cautious? When the energy that once carried us through the day begins to fade? When even the smallest of aches whispers a quiet warning? First, it's easy to brush aside. A little stiffness in the morning, a slight shortness of breath after a flight of stairs. Just part of aging, we tell ourselves. But time has a way of turning small neglects into bigger barriers. The doctor's visits that get postponed, the daily walks that grow less frequent, the meals that become less mindful, all of it over time accumulates. And then one day we realize the freedom we once had is slipping through our fingers, not in a single moment, but in 1,000 little choices made along the way. Yet, here's the truth. Taking care of ourselves was never just about avoiding illness. It's about preserving the ability to live fully, to chase laughter across a room, to hold the ones we love without pain, to wake up each morning with the strength to step into the day. And the beauty of it is that no matter where we are, it is never too late to begin again. A short walk in the morning, a little extra water each day, a checkup to catch small problems before they grow. These aren't just routines, they are acts of self-respect, reminders that our bodies are still capable of carrying us toward joy. Because in the end, health isn't just about adding years to life. It's about adding life to the years we still have. Taking care of our bodies allows us to keep moving, but what about our hearts? Health is not just about strength and endurance, it is also about connection, about knowing that when we reach out, someone will be there. But as the years go by, the world can begin to feel quieter. The house that was once filled with conversation, with laughter spilling from every corner, now carries long stretches of silence. The phone rings less often, the invitations slow down, and after a while we tell ourselves that maybe this is just how life is meant to be. But something inside still longs for more. The truth is, loneliness does not come all at once. It creeps in moment by moment, until one day we realize how much we miss the presence of others. And it is not just a feeling. Studies have shown that isolation is as harmful to the body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, weakening the heart in ways we never expected. Yet even knowing this, reconnecting can feel daunting. Maybe it is harder to get around than it used to be. Maybe conversations feel tiring, the words lost in the noise of busy rooms. Or maybe the world just seems to have moved forward without us. But here's the thing, loneliness is not proof that we have been forgotten. It is simply a reminder that we are meant for connection. And the way back does not require grand gestures. Start small. A short phone call to an old friend, a wave to a passing neighbor, a visit to a familiar cafe where the barista still remembers our name. If we take even the smallest step, the world responds. There are places where our presence would still bring joy. A community center that could use a helping hand. A child who would love to hear a story from someone who has truly lived. Because in the end, life is not meant to be lived in the quiet of solitude. but in the warmth of shared moments. And no matter how much time has passed, there is always room for one more conversation, one more connection, one more step back into the world. Loneliness has a way of making the world feel smaller. The less we engage, the more distant everything seems, and soon, even the warmth of companionship can feel like a memory from another time. But isolation doesn't just mean being physically alone. It can also creep into the way we think, the way we speak, the way we see the world around us. And when that happens, it becomes all too easy to focus on everything that has gone wrong, everything that has changed, everything that is no longer the way it used to be. At first, it feels like honesty. After all, life has not been without its hardships. The body aches in places it never used to. Old friends are no longer just a phone call away, and the world moves forward at a speed that no longer feels familiar. There is plenty to be frustrated about, and speaking about those frustrations feels natural, even justified. But something else happens, something quieter and far more dangerous. The more we focus on what is wrong, the harder it becomes to see what is still right. The warmth of a conversation turns cooler, the visits become shorter, the phone calls less frequent. Not because people don't care, but because negativity, like a heavy fog, can settle into the spaces between us, making it harder for joy to shine through. But there is another way, a shift so simple yet powerful that it has the ability to change not only the way we feel, but the way others feel around us. Gratitude, not as an obligation but as a practice, a conscious choice to look for the good, however small. For every complaint, one moment of appreciation. For every frustration, one thing that still brings joy. The sound of laughter, the warmth of the sun, the comfort of a familiar song. Because happiness is not found in a world free of hardship. It is found in the ability to notice, even in the hardest moments, that there is still beauty, still kindness, still something worth holding on to. And when we make that choice, we do not just change ourselves, we change the very energy we bring into the world. Negativity doesn't just live in our words or our thoughts, it takes up space. Just like the weight of old frustrations can linger in the mind, the weight of too many things can fill the rooms around us, quietly shaping the way we move through our days. At first, we don't notice it. A stack of magazines waiting to be read, a drawer filled with papers from years ago, closets packed with clothes that once fit just right. Every item has a story, a reason it was kept. And so, we hold on, believing that letting go means losing a part of ourselves. But as time passes, the comfort of keeping things close can turn into something else entirely. The home that once felt warm and welcoming begins to feel crowded, overwhelming. The simple act of finding something becomes a task. Spaces that once held life and movement start to feel still, as if they, too, are holding on to a past that is no longer here. And beneath it all, there is something deeper, a quiet hesitation, a fear that if we let go, we may lose something more than just objects. But what if letting go wasn't about loss, but about creating space? Imagine walking into a home that feels light, open, and peaceful, where every item carries meaning, not just habit. Imagine the joy of passing down a treasured heirloom today, seeing it bring happiness to a loved one rather than gathering dust in a forgotten corner. Imagine the freedom of choosing what truly matters, surrounding yourself not with excess, but with space to breathe, to move, to embrace the present without the weight of yesterday pressing in. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. Start small, a single shelf, one drawer, a box of items you no longer need. Give what can be used, cherish what brings joy, and release the rest with gratitude. Because life isn't meant to be lived in a museum of yesterday. It is meant to be experienced fully, with room for new memories, new moments, and the quiet peace that comes from knowing that what remains is exactly enough. Clutter isn't just about the things we keep. It's about the expectations we hold on to as well. Just as a crowded room can make it harder to move freely, unspoken hopes and unfulfilled expectations can quietly weigh down relationships, creating distance where closeness was meant to be. Love within a family is undeniable, but it is also shaped by the realities of life. Children grow, responsibilities expand, and days fill up faster than they once did. The calls that used to come every evening become less frequent, The visits that once felt routine now require planning. And in the quiet of waiting, it's easy for disappointment to settle in, to wonder why they don't reach out more, why they seem preoccupied, why things don't feel quite the same. But love isn't measured in phone calls or Sunday dinners alone. It exists in the fabric of shared history, in the moments that shaped a lifetime together. It doesn't disappear just because the rhythms of connection change. And when we begin to see love for what it is, rather than what we expect it to be, we free ourselves from the weight of resentment and open the door to something deeper, something lighter. A relationship that is built not on obligation, but on choice. There is power in taking the first step, in reaching out rather than waiting, in showing interest in the world they now navigate. Ask about their work, their dreams, the things that keep them busy, not with longing for the past, but with curiosity for the present. And beyond family, there is joy to be found in new friendships, in community, in passions that bring fulfillment outside of the ties we've always known. When we create a life rich with our own experiences, we don't lose our connection to family, we strengthen it. Because love, when given freely, always finds its way back. Love, when given freely, always finds its way back. But even love cannot quiet the restless thoughts that come in the stillness of night. The what-ifs, the worries, the quiet fears about what lies ahead. The future, once something filled with endless possibilities, can begin to feel uncertain, unpredictable, even daunting. The body moves a little slower, the world feels a little less familiar, and the questions begin to creep in. What if my health declines? What if my savings don't last? What if I become a burden to those I love? These thoughts, though unspoken, carry weight. They settle in the corners of the mind, shaping our choices, making us hesitate where once we moved freely. But fear has a way of stealing joy from moments that have not yet come. Worrying about the future does not prevent its challenges, just as holding onto an umbrella on a clear day does not stop the rain from falling. The truth is, none of us know exactly what is ahead, but we are not powerless in the face of uncertainty. There is strength in preparation, in taking small, intentional steps to create a future that feels less like something to fear and more like something to embrace. Thoughtful financial planning, staying proactive with health, building a circle of support. These are not just practical choices. They are acts of self-respect, reminders that we are still the authors of our own lives. And just as important as preparing for tomorrow is remembering to live fully today. The future is not only a place of uncertainty. It is also a place where joy still exists, where laughter still rings, where new memories are still waiting to be made. Life does not ask us to know what will happen next. It simply asks us to keep showing up, to keep choosing hope over fear, to keep moving forward, one step, one breath, one moment at a time. There is a quiet kind of resignation that settles in over time. It begins as a whisper, "I've been this way for too long," and slowly becomes something louder, something we start to believe. The idea of change, of learning, of stepping into something new begins to feel out of reach, as if it belongs to someone else, someone younger. We convince ourselves that certain dreams have passed us by, that the chance to start over was left behind in another season of life. And so we stop reaching. We settle into the comfort of routine, even when that routine no longer serves us. But the truth is, change has never had an expiration date. The human brain is capable of adapting, learning, growing at any age, at any stage. The only thing that holds us back is the belief that we cannot. There are people in their 70s who are learning to paint for the first time, their hands unsteady but their hearts alive with color. There are men and women who once feared technology, now sending emails and video messages with ease. There are those in their 80s launching businesses, writing books, falling in love again. Growth is not reserved for the young. It is reserved for those who are willing to step forward, even if that step is small. And the first step does not have to be grand. It can be as simple as picking up a book on a subject you've never explored, taking a different route on your morning walk, or learning a new word in another language. Because life, no matter how many years have passed, still holds possibilities waiting to be discovered. The only question that remains is this: what will you do with the time you have? The passing of time is inevitable, but the way we choose to spend it is entirely our own. Every day we are given a choice to hold on to habits that no longer serve us or to embrace the possibility of something better. Aging is not defined by how many years remain. It is defined by how fully we live the ones we have. It is not about clinging to the past or fearing the future, but about finding joy in the present, in the moments that are still unfolding, in the connections that are still within reach. Change does not require grand gestures. It begins in the smallest of ways, a conversation we choose to open instead of letting silence settle, a step forward when it would be easier to stand still, a willingness to see ourselves not as people who are finished growing, but as individuals still capable of discovery, of laughter, of purpose. One choice, one shift, one moment of awareness can begin to rewrite the way we experience this chapter of life. If this message has resonated with you, let it be more than just words. Let it be a beginning. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you are ready to step into your golden years with intention, with joy, and with the belief that there is still so much left to embrace, type, "I'm ready" in the comments. Because the best moments of life are not behind us. They are the ones we choose to create today.